forever on YouTube. Okay. Welcome, everybody. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
So we have a group of La Sierra students here that we want to welcome. So glad to have you here learning about Judaism. We're going to begin with Hinei Matov, how good it is to sit here together as brothers and sisters. Now, there are two prayer books. There's one that's fat, that has Sabbath and festivals. Okay, that's the page number I'm going to give first. There's some that are thinner that are just Shabbat. And that's the second, that's a Shabbat one right there that you just picked up, right? It's a thin one. Yeah, that's a fat one, I think. Okay, so I'm going to give you two page numbers. First is the fat, second is the thin, and the books open this way, Hebrew. Okay, so 128 and 10 are the page numbers for Hinei Matov.
And this is actually Psalm 133. And in Hebrew, that's Hinei Matov Umanayim. Something's wrong. Something is breaking up. Can we fix that?
Hinei matov umanayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hinei matov umanayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hinei matov, hinei matov. La 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 la. Hinei matov umanayim.
Is this actually on? Okay, thank you.
Okay, so we light candles. Amy, would you like to come light the candles? No, you wouldn't. Oh my goodness, Carolee. How about you, Carolee? You want to come light the candles? Not really? Is that what you said? Okay. Nobody. Lori, do you want to light the candle? What's that? Oh, I thought you said not really. Oh, that was Amy. Okay. It's hard with a mask. I've talked to Jason about this. I think they may change it. Yes. Okay. So here's the microphone. You can take your mask off if you want. Oh, let me get the page number. So the page number for the candles is page 120 and 2.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we in our own day be among those who kindle light. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Amen. Thank you, Lori. I was surprised. Oh, that's yours. I'm sorry. What's yours is mine. What's mine is yours. Oh, you already got the Kiddush cup. Okay, the Kiddush, the blessing over the wine, is page 123 and 5.
You know, Rabbi was talking about things that are very old, a little old, and current, or not so old. This particular version of this blessing over the wine is from about 1860, around the time of the American Civil War, but written by a composer in Germany named Louis Lewandowski, who wrote a lot of music that's used in services around the world, actually. So that's actually where this comes from. We'll be doing, the next thing I'll be doing is something that's pretty brand new from New York that I just found. But anyway, here's the Kiddush. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kishanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu. V'shabbat kodsho be'ahava u'v'ratzon hinchilanu, zikaron le'maseh v'reshit. Ki hu yom techila lemikra kodesh, zecher letziat Mitzrayim. Ki vanu v'acharta, ve'otanu kidashta, mikol ha'amim. V'shabbat kodecha be'ahava u'v'ratzon hinchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh haShabbat. Amen.
So for the students here, we read a portion of the Torah every week until we finish it in a year, and then we start all over again. So this week's Torah portion is the double Behar Bechukotai, in which we read about the sabbatical or the Shemitah year. We're told that every seventh year we're supposed to allow the fields to rest. The entire land and its products are to be declared free, for the land belongs to God, and we are mere sojourners. This should make us realize that whatever we possess is given to us on loan to utilize for good. The Shemitah year, during which we forego actual ownership of the land, ensures that we remember this. Our sustenance derives not only from our hard work, but from the gifts that God bestows upon us, and out of gratitude and in response to the Torah's laws, we are supposed to share our bounty with our fellow human beings. And Elliot has found a piece that goes with this idea of the land not necessarily being our land, it's God's land.
And I found this, thank goodness for the internet. You know, you can find anything on the internet. I was looking for songs about Shemitah, this particular reading. And there aren't a lot, but I actually found one that's really fairly new, written by Ariel Rivera Corman in New York. There was a whole album of songs about this, and I found this one I particularly liked. And it's a very simple song, very folky song, and it says, God said to Moses, "The land will not be sold forever, for the land is mine, you are but strangers, temporary dwellers with me." Vayedaber Adonai et Moshe lemo. Vayedaber Adonai el Moshe lemo, el Moshe lemo, el Moshe lemo. והארץ לא תמחה לזמיתות, כלי הארץ, כלי הארץ, כלי הארץ. והארץ לא תמחה לזמיתות,
Kile haaretz, kile haaretz, kile haaretz. Ki gerim velo shavim atem imadi. Ki gerim velo shavim atem imadi. Ki gerim vetoshavim atem imadi. Kili haaretz, kili haaretz, kili haaretz, ki gorem adoshim. Kili haaretz, kili haaretz, kili haaretz, ki gorim et toshavim. Lai, 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 lai. This is the lai, lai part. You can sing this part. Lai, 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 lai. Everyone. Lai, 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 lai. Lai, 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 lai. Lai, 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 lai. Again. Lai, 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 lai. Lai, 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 lai. Lai, 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 lai. Haaretz totimichal yizmetut. Kili haaretz, kili haaretz, kili haaretz.
So the Shemitah year, this year when we let the land lie fallow, serves to reinforce some additional values, and they're identified by Rabbi Mel Gottlieb. One is inhibiting our proclivity towards acquisitiveness. That's the first one. Number two is promoting ecological harmony. And number three, the importance of taking time to rest from our work and reflect on our purpose in the world. On the theme of acquisitiveness, or avarice, when the people occupied themselves in working the land in a natural manner, and when they prospered, the Torah warns of the natural proclivity to assume that it was solely because of their hard work that they had been successful, and thus they have the right to own it for themselves. They have accrued this wealth, and therefore they are the overlords of the land that is theirs, and they may feel that it is their right to do with it what they wish. To this end, therefore, the natural order was to be interrupted in some of its most vital functions. By leaving the land uncultivated, the farmer implicitly acknowledged the sole supremacy of God over the land and people. In this way, the fallacies and illusions of human power are removed, and God's grace is recognized. It should also act to help prevent the land disputes between people who claim that the land belongs solely to them and that they'll go to war over it. Its purpose is designed to maintain an equal distribution of wealth as well, for the Torah is warning that it is the ownership of land by the few that can lead to subjection of the impoverished. The wisdom of the Sabbath year and the Jubilee year creates a consciousness that it is important for the bounty of the land to be shared among all sections of the people, for the land belongs to me, which is the line that he sang in Hebrew. The Chatzi Kaddish, which is kind of a punctuation in the service, page 263 and 145.
Yitgadal ve'yitgadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divrach hiruteh ve'amlich malchuteh, b'chayechon u'vyomechon, u'chayid chol bet Yisrael. Bagala, bagala, uvisman karib, ve'imru, amen. Yehi shemei Rabbah mevarach, le'alam u'la'al me'almaya, yitbarach, yitbarach, ve'yishtabach, ve'yitpa'av, ve'yityaman, ve'yitnaseh, ve'yithadar, ve'yithaleh, ve'yithalal, shemei dekudesha, brichu, le'ela min kol birchata ve'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, damiran be'alma, ve'immeru, amen.
And we rise for the Baruch Hu on the next page. This is the official call to worship. seated. And as I mentioned earlier, for the students, we recognize that God has done three things. God created the world, God revealed God's wisdom and ethical mandates for us, and God liberated us from oppression. So these are the blessings surrounding the Shema, or statement that God is one. The first one is about creation. So I'm going to read a piece about the natural world by Marge Piercy. It's called September Afternoon at 4 o'clock. Full in the hand, heavy with ripeness, perfume spreading its fan. Moments now resemble sweet russet pears glowing on the bough, peaches warm from the afternoon sun, amber and juicy, flesh that can make you drunk. There's a turn in things that makes the heart catch. We are ripening, all the hard green grasping, the stony will swelling into sweetness, the acid and sugar in balance, the sun stored as energy that is pleasure, and pleasure that is energy. Whatever happens, whatever we say, and hold hard and let go on and go on. In the perfect moment, the future coils, a tree inside a pit. Take, eat. We are each other's perfection. The wine of our mouths is sweet and heavy. Soon enough comes the vinegar. The fruit is ripe for the taking, and we take. There is no other wisdom. And the second blessing is a blessing of revelation, that God gave us Torah out of love, and that's Ahavat Olam, which means eternal love, page 266 and 148.
אהבת עולם בית ישראל, עמך אהבת. תורה ומצוות, חוקים ומשפטים, אותנו למדת. על כן אדוני אלוהינו, בשוכבנו נשיח בחוקיך, ונשמח בדברי תורתך ומצוותיך לעולם ועד, כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו, ובהם נהגה יומם ולילה.
And the Shema, the central statement of our faith, is page 267 and 149, and we rise.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem, Kevod Malchuto, Le'olam va'ed.
Please be seated. And part of the Shema is a paragraph called the Ve'ahavta, that we are to love God with all our heart, with all our soul, with all our might. And Carol Lee is going to lead us in that prayer. Carol Lee does all our bar and bat mitzvah training and many, many, many other things.
No. No.
Okay. Christine, I think you need to mute.
Please join me. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha uv'chol nafshecha uv'chol meodecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele Asher Anochi Mitzavcha Hayom al levavecha V'shinantam levanecha V'dibarta bam B'shivtecha b'veitecha Uv'lechtecha v'haderech Uv'shochbecha uv'kumecha Ukshartam leod al yadecha, v'hayu letotafot beinenecha, uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha, uvisharecha. Laman tiskaru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai, v'item kedoshim le'elohechem. Ani Adonai Elohechem Asher hotzeti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim liot lachem le'Elohim Ani Adonai Elohechem.
So the second value that is underlined by the Shemitah year is that of ecological balance. Allowing the land to rest is a reminder that we cannot exploit the earth's resources to our heart's content and to satisfy our greed. As we have seen, ecological disaster and perpetual pollution are the result. What follows inevitably, says Rabbi Gottlieb, is the exploitation of workers and animals to create results at the expense of humane working conditions. When the profit motive becomes the God that is worshiped, when we are caught up in the race for monetary acquisition, we lose touch with our souls, with what we are truly created for. There must be constant reminders to curb our lust for opulence and power and allow the benevolent dimension of our souls to take hold once again. The Torah's directive to respect nature rather than to exploit it for material gain is today a universal imperative. It demands that each of us share the planet with others, share our bounty with others to ensure that all of us have proper sustenance, housing, food, clothing, and medical assistance. The Torah teaches us how we should interact with our possessions, instructing us how to create a system which benefits all members of our society. The temptation to own the land, build its bounty, and not share its profits and its benefits with others is contrary to the Jewish ethic. The Mi Chamocha is a song that we sang when we crossed the Red Sea on dry land and came to the other side. We were amazed at all of God's incredible powers and miracles. Mi Chamocha, page 270 and page 152.
Mi chamocha balim Adonai, mi chamocha neda b'kodesh, nora tehilot osefel, nora tehilot osefel. We go, ya bye 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 bye, ya bye 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 bye, ya bye 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 bye, ya 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 bye. בוקע ים לפני משה ומרים, זה אלי, זה לי, ענו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. לי 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 לי
That's supposed to be a very happy song. And once upon a time, we would do the song and people were going, me, hamo. I said, hey, you just got liberated from slavery. You should be happy. Let's try that again. Yeah, really. Well, you know how we are. We complain the minute we got out of Egypt. Remember how good all those wonderful melons were. It's hot. It's Anyhow, okay. The third value that is underlined by the Shemitah year is the reminder to take time for ourselves, for a personal sabbatical. Just like the weekly Shabbat, the every 7-year Shemitah is a longer stretch of time to rest, to reflect, and to rebalance. Maybe it's time to reorient ourselves. Maybe it's time to change careers. Or maybe it's time to take a class that you were thinking of for a long time. Maybe you want to spend more time with friends and family. This is a poem by Wendell Berry that I think will get you started. It's called How to Be a Poet. In parentheses, to remind myself. Make a place to sit down, be quiet. You must depend upon affection, reading, knowledge, skill, more of each than you have. Inspiration, work, growing older, patience. For patience joins time to eternity. Any readers who like your work doubt their judgment. Breathe with unconditional breath, the unconditioned air. Shun electric wire. Communicate slowly. Live a 3-dimensional life. Stay away from screens. Stay away from anything that obscures the place it is in. There are no unsacred places. There are only sacred places and desecrated places. Accept what comes from silence. Make the best you can of it, of the little words that come out of the silence, like prayers, prayed back to the one who prays. Make a poem that does not disturb the silence from which it came. And at night, we have silence in order to fall asleep. The Hashkivenu is a prayer that began in the medieval period when people thought if they fell asleep, they might not wake up in the morning. Page 271 and 153.
This setting of this prayer is by a famous Jewish composer from about 1940s and 50s named Max Helfman, who actually lived in Los Angeles for the latter part of his life and wrote a lot of well-known Jewish music, choral music, and cantorial music. And I happen to really love this piece very much. This will be on the quiz, just checking. Okay.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu lech shalom v'hamidenu malkeinu l'chaim ufrosa Sukat shalomecha v'tachnenu be'etza tova milfanecha v'hoshienu lema'an shemecha.
So the central prayer of the service is the tefillah, which has a number of blessings. The first one recognizing the merit of our ancestors. The second one recognizing God's power to give life. And the third recognizing God's holiness. We begin on page 271 and 153, and we rise.
Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi agid lehilatecha Adonai sefatai tiftach Ufi agid tehilatecha Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak v'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor, Vehanora, El Elyon, גומל חסדים טובים וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע. מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך אל גבורות ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישוע, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
Please continue silently to page 285 or 167. Please be seated when you are done or when you need to sit down, and we'll continue after that. Page 285 and 167. A prayer for peace.
This is a version of Oseh Shalom that's pretty recent, written by a composer or cantor in Memphis named Michael Hunter Oaks, and it's more in a sort of a pop style. And so we have a big spectrum of kind of Jewish music we're hearing tonight.
עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל.
Definitely has that southern feel to it, right?
Or somewhere. They're probably from the Bronx originally.
So we are now between the period of Passover and Shavuot. Shavuot is when we theoretically received the Torah. Remember when the mountain was held over the heads of the Israelites that I was telling you about before? And during that period, when the temple stood, we were supposed to bring a measure of barley to the temple every day. Is an omer, that's the measure of barley. Now, of course, there's no temple, but we still count the days between Passover and Shavuot And we are supposed to use those days to refine our character, to be worthy of receiving the Torah, because we were slaves, and then we're going to become free people to serve God, and we have to make that transition. So we count the Omer, page 570 and 278.
And of course, we have a song before we do the blessing. It goes like this.
הנני מוכן ומזומן, הנני מוכן ומזומן, הנני מוכן ומזומן, הנני מוכן ומזומן, לחיים מצוות עשה של ספירת העומר, לקיים מצוות עשה של ספירת העומר. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר קידשנו במצוותיו וציוונו על ספירת העומר היום 37 יום שהם 5 שבועות ו2 ימים לעומר.
So today is 37 days, which is 5 weeks and 2 days of the Omer. Now, the mystics of our tradition picked a particular characteristic for each week, there's 7 weeks, and then an aspect of each of these characteristics for each day of the week. So this week, which is week 6, we are focusing on Yesod, which means foundation or bonding. And the aspect of Yesod we're supposed to be thinking about is the Gevurah of Yesod, which is the discipline of bonding. And this is the suggestion: examine the discipline of your bonding. Bonding must be done with discretion and careful consideration with whom and with what you bond. Even the healthiest and closest bonding needs time out, a respect for each individual's space. Do I overbond? Am I too dependent on the one I bond with? Is he too dependent on me? Do I bond out of desperation? Do I bond with healthy, wholesome people? Exercise for the day: review your bonding experiences to see if they need more discipline or change. And we take a moment now to think of those in need of healing, whether of body, of mind, or of spirit. We think of congregants and friends and congregants, friends and family of congregants: Ben Henderson, Rabbi Steve Robbins, Gloria Mangus, Leslie Ferris, Pamela Mangus, Judy Richmond, Glickle Sarah Bat Devorah Milka Gittel, Vicki Dix, Colton Wayne Whitaker, John Cruz, Mark Feldstein, Dan Strauss, Darlene DeMason, Linda Stroman, Charlene Beck, Shawnee Holness, Barbara Droutman, Eddie Archibek, Dan Hantman, Shmuel Ben Devorah. Is anyone here thinking of someone today? Would like to mention a name? Please feel free. Go ahead. Yes. Yes, you may. Go ahead. Okay. And let's see if we have some names on. Okay, Alan Hurwitz, Dorothy Odson, Robin Mendez, Michael Kurland, Judy Gladstone, Gary Oppenheim, Samantha Marks. So the prayer for healing is on the inside cover of your prayer book towards the opening of the prayer book. And please join us, or just let this prayer be one that helps you heal.
This version of this prayer has a spot where you can echo back the words, "Hear our prayer," and it happens a few times in groups of 3. I'll signal when you sing, you echo what I do.
מי שברך אבותינו, אברהם, יצחק ויעקב. מי שברך אמותינו, Sararif kalea verachel. May the one who blessed our mothers, may the one who blessed our fathers, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, and bless us as well. Bless us with the power of your healing. Bless us with the power of your hope. May our lives be filled with understanding, and may strengthened by the power of your love. Bless us with the visions for tomorrow. Help us to reach out to those in pain. May the warmth of friendship ease our sorrow. Give us courage, give us faith, show us the way. Mi sheberach avotenu, mi sheberach imotenu. Hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, and bless us as well once more. Hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, and bless us as well.
So most of you are probably familiar with Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel's insight that Jews do not build cathedrals in space, but build cathedrals in time. The La Sierra folks already know this, right? As Rabbi Heschel says, Judaism sanctifies the moments, the seasons, the time, the calendar. To elaborate on this dictum, I'm going to speak about both this week's Torah portion and last week's as well. Sanctifying time was one of the central themes of last week's Torah portion, Amor. Amor devotes a full chapter to the festivals of the Jewish year. Rabbi Jonathan Sachs points out that there are 4 other passages in the Torah that refer to these festivals. So what's different about the one in our Torah portion? For one, as all the festivals are listed, the Sabbath is listed as well. Well, that is perturbing to a number of commentators because they note that only in this Torah portion, Shabbat is called a moed, an appointed time, and a mikra kodesh, a sacred assembly. Those are usually words that are reserved for festivals. So Rashi, our medieval French commentator, asks, what has Shabbat to do with the festivals? After all, the festivals happen every year, and Shabbat happens every week. The festival's calendar was set by the Beit Din, the people in charge once upon a time, but Shabbat, on the other hand, is independent of the human calendar. It was set by God at creation. Shabbat's holiness comes directly from God at the dawn of creation. So what is the connection between these two? The Vilna Gaon offers a very provocative reading. On the verse in our Torah portion, he claims that the injunction, 6 days shall you work, but the 7th day is a Sabbath of Sabbaths, that applies not to the days of the week, but to the days of the year. Now, how does he get there? It has to do with the magical number 7. And that number appears over and over again in the Torah. In the portion from last week, there are 7 holy days that are identified. The 1st and the 7th day of Passover, the day of Shavuot, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, the 1st day of Sukkot, and Shmini Atzeret, which is something that the Reform movement doesn't really celebrate, but it's there nonetheless in the Torah. Shmini Atzeret is the 8th day after Sukkot is over when there's a gathering. So that's 7 holy days. During 6 of them, we're allowed to do some work, such as cooking and carrying. But on the 7th, on Yom Kippur, we are not allowed any work because it is a Sabbath of Sabbaths. So Yom Kippur is to the year what Shabbat is to the week, a kind of Shabbat for the year. Now, this week, we learn about another cycle of 7, and that's the Shemitah year, which occurs every 7th year. And that's a year when debts and slaves are released and the land is to lie fallow. And of course, the Vilna Gaon sees a pattern of these special moments in time. So what is this pattern all about? First, we need to understand what Shabbat is about. The weekly Shabbat, the annual Shabbat of Shabbats, and the Shemitah year. These are the holiest times in each of these cycles, times to refrain from the work in which we engage during the rest of the cycle. And what are we supposed to experience during these moments of rest, as it were? These are times to focus on our connection to God, to expand our spiritual life, to feel gratitude for our blessings, to experience the joy of connection to family and community. And it's what we're doing right now. Now, you might ask, why can't we have a Sabbath every single day and every single year? Why only 1 in 7? Well, Rabbi Jonathan Sachs explains that we are both spiritual and material beings. Therefore, we have times that we need to work and times to be bathed in the radiance of God. As I mentioned earlier to these students, in Judaism, synagogues are supposed to have windows because our times of fervent prayer and communion with God are not supposed to isolate us from what's going on in the world. We build our cathedrals in time in order to bring some of the holiness that we experience during that time to the rest of our days and years. And I think this poem, which is called The Clearing by Martha Postlethwaite, captures beautifully what this is all about. Do not try to save the whole world or do anything grandiose. Instead, create a clearing in the dense forest of your life. And wait there patiently until the song that is your life falls into your own cupped hands and you recognize and greet it. Only then will you know how to give yourself to this world so worthy of rescue, creating a clearing. As it says in Pirkei Avot, it is not up to us to complete the work, but we are also not to desist from trying. You do what you can, as long as you can. Kevin Aiken is on our board of directors, and he has a few announcements.
Shabbat Shalom. Nice to see you here. Tomorrow, Saturday, May 13th at 10 a.m., there's a Torah study led by Rabbi Singer on Zoom, and it's easy enough to connect. Just ask. Next Friday, May 19th, will be the confirmation service at 7 p.m. in person or on Zoom. The confirmands are Asher Winston, Eli Sabar, Ezra Crone, and Shia Young. And then the following morning, Saturday, May 20th at 10 a.m., Ari Cohen will be called to the Torah as a bar mitzvah. Please join us in person or on Zoom. And save the date for Mitzvah Day on May 21st, that'll be a Sunday, at 12:30 p.m. We'll be holding Mitzvah Day activities. There'll be a lot of projects from arts and crafts to letter writing and gardening to benefit refugees in the community. And please RSVP to the office so we can estimate a head count and be sure to have enough supplies. Please plan to come. And tonight, the Oneg is sponsored by Lori Magnus in honor of Ruth Geller's 90th birthday. Happy birthday. We are so lucky to have Ruth Geller with us here tonight. So that's it for right now. As a former mechanical supervisor, let me point out that Shabbat is in the same commandment with the first part of that commandment that starts, 6 days shalt thou labor. So the commandment to work is on even ground with the commandment to rest.
Absolutely. Thank you, Kevin. No, that's absolutely true. And as Rabbi Sachs says, we have to. Carol Lee, do you have something to say? Hang on, let me bring you a mic. Without a mic, people on Zoom cannot hear what's going on in here.
I just want to say that we had such a wonderful, successful Bagel and Lox brunch, and I want to thank all of the people who worked on it and all of the people who came. It was really great. We had a wonderful time.
Well, I know Wendy worked very hard on it, and Karina, yes. And of course, Carol Lee, without you. And, oh, that's right, Thomas, who is not even a congregant at this point, was in the kitchen from morning till night, you know, chopping away and cooking. Yes, thank you. I heard very good things. He is a professional chef also, which is even better. So we're very fortunate to have wonderful people here, Ruth being one of them. And I want to thank Asher Winston, who's back there, who, can we see you? There we are. Asher did the tech tonight. He did a great job, and Asher is going to be one of the confirmands next Friday. So please try to come. And there are going to be some Hillel students here as well. Thank you for your beautiful music. A lot of the music you heard tonight was written by this gentleman, actually. Well, not some of it. Elliot Levine is a composer, a musician, a singer, all sorts of things. What's that? Triple.
But not a chef.
You're not a chef. Oh, well, maybe Thomas will give you some lessons. I don't know. Yeah, so no, it was a lovely event. The Bagels and Lox was really lovely. The community came out. Every single person in the religious school worked because no one says no to Carol Lee. And she normally doesn't say no, which is why I was surprised when I thought you didn't want to light the candles. You didn't hear me. Okay, you're forgiven. Okay, the Aleinu, which is one of our closing prayers, is on the inside cover of your prayer books on the other side of the prayer book. And we rise, and let's see, Alan and Diane Quasman, why don't you come up to open the ark? While you're coming up, maybe you can tell us who the young lady is who's with you. Okay. Yeah, you need a mic for the people on Zoom to hear you, otherwise they'll hear nothing. Actually, here's a mic that you can have all to yourself.
We're here with our guest, Madison Tsai, who's a member of the Renaissance Baptist Church and is a colleague of mine in Riverside Community Hospital.
Great.
We're happy
Well,
to have her. Welcome.
Welcome. All right.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשינו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד הארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגובה מרומים. הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו, ככתוב בתורתו, ויודעת היום, והשבות אל לבבך. כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת אין עוד. ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ. ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו O Shemo Echad.
You may be seated. We take a moment to think of those who are no longer with us. May their memories be for a blessing. Is anyone observing Shiva? I have first years, but no Shiva. Okay. And we're observing Shloshim, the first 30 days of mourning for Selma Cardos. Anyone else in Shloshim or the first year of mourning would like to mention a name? So we have first year Sheldon Cohen, Irving Klein, Judith Cohen, Lita Mintz, and Patty Podner for first year, David Tanizaki. And we're observing yard sites this Shabbat for Max Frankel, Abraham Sikov, Sue Rosenbaum, Charney Schwartz, Samuel Z. Stein, Isidore Fendel, Darlene Jones, Pauline Lowenstein, Mary Roussel, Samuel Siegel, Esther Ashwall, Bertha Goldeck, Murtis Hopkins, Arnold Sherman, Bernard Mechanic, Wilfred Sklar, Anna Stauskowski, Catherine Holland, Deborah Leah Reisner, Manny Michelson. Is anyone else here observing a yard site? Sorry. Erminio Archibek, Stefan Alfervik. Anyone else on Zoom? Please join me for the Mourner's Kaddish, which is page 598. Yes, we rise as well, as we think of those who perished in the Holocaust and have no one to say the Mourner's Kaddish for them. And the other page has disappeared. Hang on, I'm going to give you the other page for the Mourner's Kaddish.
294.
294, thank you. Yid Gadal v'Yikadash Shemei Rabbah v'Alma Divrach Yechutei v'Yamlich Malchutei v'Chayechon u'v'Yomechon u'v'Chayei Dechol Beit Yisrael v'Agala u'v'Zman Kariv Imru Amen. Yehei Shemei Rabbah mevarach le'olam u'almei almaya Yitbarach v'Yishtabach v'Yitpa'ar v'Yitromam v'Yitnaseh v'Yitadar v'Yitaleh v'Yitalal Shemei Dekudusha B'Richu La'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbachata v'nechemata ta'amiran be'alma v'imru Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and comfort to all who are bereaved, as together we say, Amen.
Amen.
And our closing song is Adon Olam, which is page 625 and 321.
This version of Adon Olam, and there are literally thousands of versions of songs set to this text, this praise text, is from Tunisia. It's a Sephardic song from the Isle of Djerba off Tunisia.
Adon olam asher malach beterem kol yatzir nivra ve'etnaseh bechefzo kol azay melech shemo nikra ve'acharei kichlotav הכל, לבדו ימלוך נורא, והוא היה והוא הווה והוא נהיה בתפארה. והוא אחד ואין שני, להמשילו להכבירה, בלי ראשית בלי תכלית, ולא העוז והמשרה. והוא אלי וחי גואלי, בצור חבלי בעת צרה, והוא ניסי ומנוס לי, מנת כוזי ביום מקרא. אישן והעירה, וימרוכי גבייתי, אדוני לי ולא יירא. המוציא לחם מן הארץ, we give thanks to God for bread. Our voices rise in song together as our joyful prayer is said. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Please join us for the oneg in the social hall. And Asher, don't turn off the stuff yet. I have to talk to you about something. Okay, thanks.
Oops.